Welcome to the Music Compose studio. Now at demo parties there's a bit of a tradition with the Music Compose. They generally represent the least interesting, the least imaginative event of the whole party. The entries generally are lacking in originality and emotional depth. At this year's assembly, there was no exception. So, I don't want to start my first compo studio in a number of years on a negative note. So, guys, say something positive about this year's compo.
Well, the positive thing, there were only 14 tracks.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that, yeah, it could have been 15.
And they could have been shorter.
Yeah, because I was at Skogen on June, and there were 21 entries, and every entry was at max length at 4 minutes, so that was like a 2-hour compo. So.
Well, I'd like to say maybe something maybe positive. I'm sure the demo Lola track was going to be a big hit. So that was kind of catchy.
Yeah, that's sadly going to be a hit.
Yeah, because it got the gamers downstairs were clapping onto it.
Yeah,
and, so that was an obvious crowd pleaser there.
Definitely a crowd pleaser, yeah. Another one that actually sort of caught my ear, especially now I played on the PA, was Picante. Do you remember the one with a bit of there was a bit of rap and stuff? The rapping was pretty decent, and the vocals were quite interesting. I listened to them on the headphones as well, but then some of the backings were still had like quite cheap filters and things like that. So
yeah, quite cheap, isn't it? Like I would describe it.
So okay, well, what was your favorite then? What was your favorite?
I don't know, it was like the 9th entry was the first decent one.
Which one?
Behind the LCD?
Yeah, Behind the LCD was the first decent one, and
I don't like you anymore.
Good for you. Don't make me music anymore.
Okay, well, so what was yours?
There were 2 highlights on that compo. It was entry 11 and entry 13. The 11 was the Fast Forwarding Through Hell, and the 13 was the Tinnaman Ghost.
Yeah,
they were the only kind of non-uns kind of upbeat tracks. They were they actually had some depth. And
I thought you might mention those. Yeah. I'll get back to those in a bit. But so what about your?
I was actually agreeing with Segrel. The 9th song was it was a little like a bit different from the crowd.
Yeah.
I would say the message was it was like a trance from the late 90s.
Behind the LCD.
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, we heard different tracks then, I guess.
Yeah, but that's
fair enough. No, I sort of agree on, well, especially maybe Tiananmen Ghost had a huge amount of potential. There was bits in the middle where it kind of lost it, but the beginning of the track was super. It was supreme. And for once, we actually got some kind of like emotional depth.
Yes,
which
indeed.
I think
and
we're
it was
really
well
lacking.
orchestrated, and the sound quality was almost good. But then, like when there were these crash hits, they were like very lo-fi, and I don't understand why you would do that, because the song itself was great, the music was great, it was done very good, but then it had some very low quality sounds in the mix. So maybe it's a speaker problem. I don't know, but that kind of caught my ear on that song.
And I think it represents one of the few tracks where there's actually a bit of maybe a political message or something like that. I mean, at least
obviously, if you're going to name your track Tinnaman, you're going to have some political issues there as well.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote, like, with such a provocative name, I mean, we were expecting something pretty great, and it was actually okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. But the thing is, because I only singled out 2 songs out of 14, because the first 10 songs I just wrote uns here. So, because it just, well, I am biased, so.
Yeah. There was actually quite a lot of, like, sort of tracks with kind of grandeur built into them. There was a fast forwarding through hell thing, which was one. There was another one that I'm trying to find now. Yeah, there was Northern Legends, and then there was Dark Myth, which was like the second track, which we tried to build up some kind of grandeur.
Yeah.
What do you feel about like that kind of approach in a demo compo, or in a music compo rather?
Well, it's nice to have something different, but don't overdo it.
Yeah. And I mean, one thing that I wrote here as well, that if you actually do like, you build the track with grandeur, then make absolutely sure that you have samples which match the grandeur. So if you have cheap synthesizer samples, forget about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's gonna fail.
The only synthesizer.
Then you should do something else.
I mean, the only synthesizer that has actual grandeur is a Moog. So if you're going to like, do it with a Moog. So going on to behind the LCD, yeah, I mean, I'm somewhat surprised that you mentioned that. For me, I mentioned that I wrote down that it was mostly harmless, which to me is not good in music. Music should be harmless. It should break our minds. So how do you explain that then?
Well, probably it was because the entries before that were kind of the same and kind of, well, boring, probably. So that's probably the case why it sounded good, but...
Yeah. So do you find that, was there any track that you would sort of listen to in your spare time after the compo?
No.
No.
Sorry, I don't understand the answer.
At least you were honest then. Did any of you hear any tracks that sort of didn't reach the screen? Because some people complain about that original tracks don't easily make it to the big screen.
Yeah, I suffered from that again.
Yeah.
Okay. So you entered, but you didn't get it. Okay.
I entered, and this time it actually wasn't metal. So it was my track was what it was. It was orchestral and grandeur and very high ego stuff.
Okay. It wasn't trance enough.
Yeah, but it wasn't uns enough, and because I tend to, when I do tracks, I like to do long intros to build it up. And I think, I don't know how many entries there were this year. There could have been 100, 200, I don't know. Yeah. So maybe the jury was just listening to the first 30 seconds and going like, fuck this shit. And then
yeah, I think that's a big problem. So I guess at music compos you should build like a lot of like oomph up front and then have your intro and then sort of or something like that. But do you feel that your track would have fitted in then against Tiananmen Ghost?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Would have been better than some tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have easily gone there, because there was a couple of tracks that all of us agreed that were pointless, and just sorry all you guys, but fuck that shit. Cause
sorry, but repeating the same thing for like 2 minutes is not good.
And if you're gonna do a music compo that's gonna have like 70% out of it is gonna be uns, then maybe you Assembly should consider doing a dance music compo and a real music compo where you have actual music instead of having.
Well, I mean, I think you're making the assumption that the like sort of beating music can't be good, whereas obviously there's a lot of really great.
Well, as I said earlier, I am biased, but this is how I feel, because if you're going to have a music compo which has 70% of uns and then some other stuff that's not a real music compo, then is it because it's going to be, because it's biased on its own, because it's going to support more techno beats and stuff like that?
I think the point is that if you do have beats, I mean, you should really try to rip our minds. I mean, if you're just doing the normal summer hit kind of disco tune, I mean, you get those all the time, so you need something that like really goes down and
gets more.
And I was expecting to hear some Italo disco, because at the extreme music compo we had one Italo-ish song, and that was great fun, and I kind of enjoyed that, even though I don't listen to Italo all that much, but it was a good kind of like peak there.
Yeah, and if you make Italo, you will get the senior votes.
Yeah.
At least for accession votes.
Okay, so final points. What would you like to see? So next music compo, whatever party that's coming up, what kind of entries do you want to see? And very, very short, like one sentence, like.
Different kind.
Emotional.
Yeah. Much more original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So original, emotional, and different. Yeah.
Yes.
So more of that, please. Thank you very much, guys.